Have you ever wondered what two Titan XPs in SLI, these special Star Wars Edition cards, would run like with an Intel i3? Well, I was at Overclockers UK to have some fun and to find that very thing out. So first things first, this is just for fun. This is definitely not a configuration we recommend, and that's why we're using a test bench, and we actually went through far too many parts to even get this working in the first place, but it's a bit of fun, and I thought it'd be kind of an interesting, almost more Linus-esque video for the channel, especially since Intel and Overclockers UK are sponsoring this video, so thank you to those guys. So the parts we'll be using for this build are obviously the two Star Wars Edition Titan XP or XPPs in SLI. We're also going to be using what we thought was an Asus Maximus 10 Hero board, but ended up being an Aorus Gaming 7 board. We're also using, as I said, that i3 8350K, which is actually now a quad-core CPU, so certainly not as bottlenecking as the 7350K, which is the last generation version of this, which is a dual-core, so still pretty decent. We're using 16 gigs of Team Group RAM, a 256 gig M.2 960 Samsung Evo SSD, and a 2TB Firecuda hard drive. We're also throwing in, just for sheer irony's sake, the stock Intel cooler, which, yeah, just pure irony's sake. And I think we ended up using an 850 watts power supply, but we did initially have the EVGA 1600 watt power supply from 8-Pack, which was covered in thermal paste from him, liquid cooling, or nitrogen cooling, but yeah, good fun. When we went through the process of building the system, we ended up with a couple of issues. First of all, the Jedi version of the graphics card has a sort of lightsaber turn-on button which blocks the SLI bridge, so we had to swap the orientation of the graphics cards around, so that was good fun. We then had to completely and rebuild the system as the motherboard was completely bricked, so we switched it to the Aorus Gaming 7 board. We also had a few other issues, so we ended up switching the power supply out as well for, as I said, that 850 watts. So yeah, it was a pretty good fun building the system and actually finally getting it working. But it's now it's a pretty cool looking system. The cards themselves obviously have the green and red LEDs depending on which card you're looking at, and they look awesome. I absolutely love the weathering look on the Jedi Edition card. It looks beautiful, so that's really awesome. And yeah, otherwise, once we actually got the system, up and running, it did look pretty cool. So the system is built. Let's take a look at a couple of benchmark numbers. We didn't have much time here to do a full suite of benchmarks, but we did get to run through the 3D Mark Firestrike benchmarks, both at 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. So here are those numbers. Starting off with the 1080p results, as you can see, the total score is pretty heavily bottlenecked by the CPU here. You can look at the GPU score being just shy of 33,000 points versus the total score being 19.4, and you can see that it's pretty heavily bottlenecked considering you can get that sort of total score with a 7700K and a single 1080. At 1440p, again, we're looking at a similar result with 24,000 on the GPU versus 16.6 as the total score, and again at 4K, 13.5 for the GPU score versus 11.15 for the total score. So again, certainly CPU bottlenecked, although getting closer to 4K a little less so. So somewhat surprisingly, the i3 isn't actually as big of a bottleneck as you may think it is. Now, it's a 4-core and 4-thread chip, unlike, say, the 7700K, which is a 4-core 8-thread chip with hyper-threading. It's also lower clocked, and we didn't bother overclocking, as you can probably guess by the fact that we're using the stock Intel heatsink. And otherwise, it's still certainly on the limited side, but really kind of impressive in how decent of a chip it is, especially considering that we're using two Titan XPs in SLI, so yeah, a little bit bottlenecked, and obviously, generally speaking, with the PCI lane configuration, it's technically slightly bottlenecked in that way anyway, but again, it's just a bit of fun, and kind of fun to see two Titan XPs in SLI running on an i3. So with that said, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you to Overclockers UK and Intel for sponsoring this video, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Feel free to check out some of the other videos that are over here for you, and otherwise, if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe as well, and take a look at Overclockers UK if you're interested in any parts, especially if you're in the UK and want to check out any systems, also chairs and stuff like that too. They've got a nice range of things, and otherwise, yeah, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next video.